welcome to another episode of the Just Some Magic podcast. I am your host, Morgan, and here on Just Some Magic, we like to share people's most magical moments in the theme parks. And today, I have a very special guest who, when I first met her, I we could not stop chatting, and I had to get her on the podcast. I feel like this will not be her first episode. I feel like she'll be on many more times, but today we have Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hello, hi everybody. I'm very happy to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Seriously, like when we met, we actually, after chatting for so long, we actually found out something really, really cool that we did not know. And Rachel, do you want to share what it is?
For sure. Actually, we both worked at World of Disney a long time ago, and when I was working at the boutique there, and you were working
Mm.
merchandise, right?
Yes, yes. I was on my Disney college program, and it's been 10 years since then now. So we
Oh
both
my
changed a
goodness.
lot. So I remember us, like, I was a little string bean, and I was like, this is what I used to look like. And you were a fairy godmother in training or fidgets. I think
Mhm.
they have new names now. I think I might have heard that.
Oh my god, because they're now inclusive. They're not just inclusive of
Oh.
fairy godmothers. They're inclusive of all genders, so they kind of
Oh.
changed the name a little bit.
Oh, well, I do love that they're being inclusive, but I do liked the acronym, the fidgets, as we would refer to you guys. And what was really cool, so back in the day, back in downtown Disney days, there used to be a Bibbidi Bobbidi boutique inside of World of Disney. And for those that don't know, World of Disney is the biggest Disney store in the world, still is today. It has expansion since then. But we had a Bibbidi Bobbidi boutique in there. It was a tiny little thing.
It
And
was
it was
so
so
small.
it was so cute, and it was, like, tucked away right behind where you can get, like, the princess dresses and, like, when the store was set up that way, and, um, I remember do you remember the magic mirror that we had in, like, the princess area and whatnot that
Was
would
the
put the princess dresses on you?
I even remember before they even put that in. I remember when they put that
Oh.
in and everyone started freaking out about it because it was so cool because it was like this AI and they
Yes,
were like, "Oh my god, you
technology.
can put dresses on people now."
Yes, and, like, anybody casually walking by, I remember, like, just stalking in the nearby area, just watching the interactions, and, like, dads would walk by, and then they have these princess dresses on them in the mirror, and their little daughters or sons would laugh, and it was so cute, and I honestly loved that mirror. I think it was so cool, and like you said, it was before, like, technology was as big as you know how, like, Snapchat filters, like that dog filter, I feel like it was even
Yeah,
before that time of the Snapchat silly dog filter, so people were really impressed with this mirror, and sadly they took it out, but it was enjoyable.
yeah.
But before we get into too much, do you want to share with us a little teaser of your most magical moment that you'll be sharing with us today?
Of course. So there is not just any silly reason why we're talking about. Oh, and I remembered their name. There are fairy godmothers apprentices now. They are not
Oh,
fidgets anymore. They're fairy godmothers
fairy
apprentices.
godmother.
But it's no, there's no secret reason why we're talking about this. My magical moment actually has to do with me working as a fairy godmother in training at the Bippity Boppity Boutique in downtown Disney at the time.
Yes. Oh, and I can't wait. And hopefully you can share some fun behind the scenes. I know I have a fun story with the pixie dust.
Oh
So,
goodness.
and I wasn't supposed to. I was not a fairy godmother in training. No, no, no. And all the fairy godmothers in training were gone. But anyway. I'll stay on track. But I gotta ask first and foremost, why do you love theme parks?
I, since a very young age, I have always been the type of person to be like, let's play pretend. Let's be, fairies. Let's be princesses. Let's be
Let's
lip
play mermaids
syncing.
when you're at the pool.
I would tie my feet together in the pool.
That's somewhat dangerous. That is a
Oh
whole
my
nother level
gosh,
of
to be a
commitment.
mermaid. It's fun. Well, I was really tall as a kid, so like
Oh.
really didn't bother me that I was in the 4 foot area with my feet tied together.
Fair, 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 fair. You're like,
I
"Oh, I
was
can still
five
breathe."
nine by the time I was like 14.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, it was rough.
Love that.
But so I always kind of loved being able to kind of get away from the rough and tough of it all, especially living in New York. it's very much like that. I used to live in on Long Island, so most of Long Island is people who have a lot of money, and sometimes
Oh.
those people can be very mean. So I would use stories, and I would use, especially books. I was an avid reader when I was a kid. Um,
Mhm.
but I would use those stories to kind of get away. And when I found out that I could go to Disney and be in a fake, not fake, but when I found out I could go to Disney and be in a magical place every day and not have to be myself, as an 18, 19-year old, that sounded fantastic. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I decided, like you, I did the Disney College program. I actually did it twice.
Ooh,
So
I think you
the
mentioned that.
Yeah, the first time I originally actually started working at Kilimanjaro Safaris over in Animal Kingdom, and it was great. It was probably one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. But unfortunately, a previous accident that I had been in had messed up my shoulder, and I didn't realize it. And the constant
Oh.
driving and like looking and leaning out to look for the animals exacerbated it.
Mhm. Oh,
So they could
no.
have sent me home, but my area manager liked me, so he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Please put me in attractions. Like, I don't want to be, walking around. Nothing wrong with custodial, but that wasn't my plan. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in entertainment at
Right.
one point." Um,
Yes.
so he put me at Main Street operations in Magic Kingdom. I was a part of the
Ooh.
opening team of Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, so I have the big pass card. I have
I
the
love Sorcerers of the
gold
Magic
pass
Kingdom.
card. I can't believe they took it out.
I know. It's like, it's not costing you anything. Like,
I
I love it. Like,
It was so much
it's so
fun.
good. I personally loved it so much because when you're a CP and just the waits were too long, but you still wanted to be in the parks, it was something fun you could go do. And I
Yeah,
have all of the free cards, the ones that you got for free. I didn't pay
yeah.
for anything because college program, we had no money.
No
Um,
money.
food or Swiss Magic Kingdom cards, probably food.
Yeah,
But I loved it. Oh man, this
yeah.
this already feels so ancient because
I mean,
they took that out like a while ago now, and
yeah. But
I
I
loved it.
ended up
The
doing
opening
that,
team.
and then went back to school, finished my degree. Which, if anyone who's listening is thinking about doing the college program, and was like, maybe I don't have to finish my degree, or maybe I'll finish it down here. No, go back to school, finish your degree. I have so many friends who did not finish their degree because they said
Yes.
they were going to finish it down here and never did.
I can attest to that too. I can back you up. I did the same thing because I went between my did my college program between my sophomore and junior year, and so when I came back, I was a second semester or into the second semester. So I graduated like a semester later, but I same thing. Oh, I'll just graduate down here. I'll just get to school. No big deal. And it doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
And then they're stuck at a minimum wage job, which currently at the time of recording, they're already struggling to pay their employees. So go finish your degree
yeah.
and then come back and use it towards Disney, depending
But
on
then
what.
I did come back, and I ended up doing fairy godmother in training because I told them I was interested in entertainment, and I loved playing pretend and making people's days and making magical moments for people. And they're like, we got something for you. So that's how I started as a fidget. At that point, I got placed
Oh,
into. At that point, it was still downtown Disney. I really was looking back. I've been in a lot of kind of transitional points at Disney because I was also at downtown Disney when it became Disney Springs. It was
oh,
during
you
that
were still
college
there.
program.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Because
it's
when
been it was
I
like
left, they
2014.
had. Yeah, because I left right before 2014 when my college program ended, and I knew that they were changing it. I saw, like, the little mock-ups that they were gonna do. I didn't come back till 2016, and I went back to now Disney Springs for the first time, and I'm like,
It's different.
I don't know where I am. Where's my store? What?" I got very lost in the beginning.
Yeah, so I realize that. But being a fidget at that point, kind of, people ask me, they're like, oh, like, but it's attractions. I was like, no, you don't understand. It's different. Being a fidget, you're not just welcoming people, because I've worked Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. You're not, howdy partners, welcome aboard, come on in. You're not spending 2 to 3 minutes with these people. You are spending
Mhm.
anywhere from a half hour to an hour with these people, especially
Mhm.
with kids who are anywhere from 3 to 12 years old. So
Yes.
you're talking to them, you're telling them stories. It was really great for improv. It's a lot of a lot of improv,
Yes.
because the kids would come up with crazy questions like, "Oh, did you see Rapunzel today?" And you're not going to say, "No, I didn't see her today." Of course you did. Of
Right.
course I saw Rapunzel today. I saw her come in, and we had to braid her hair, and she actually is the one that comes in first because her hair is so long. We have to have her come in, and it takes 12 of us just to braid her hair every day for her to go out and meet you in the parks. Like,
I love that.
yeah, it
That makes me so happy. I don't know why. I'm like, I just felt like a little kid, like, oh my gosh. I'm like envisioning this happening. And also, we should back up and explain exactly what Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is,
is,
but
yeah.
and then I have a follow up question about your age as a fidget. So, do you want to explain what being a fairy godmother is like in Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique for those that haven't gone or haven't experienced it or anything like that?
Absolutely. So now a fairy godmother's apprentice, but at that time a fairy godmother in training, was a fairy. You are a human sized fairy who is going to train to learn how to do hair for the princesses. So you're in training. So right now, you're just taking normal boys and girls and you're making them into knights or princesses. But when you graduate, that means that you've worked hard enough and you get to start working on the princesses' hair. So, Jasmine, Cinderella, you start doing their hair by yourself
Oh,
instead of taking care of the younger princes and princesses. Um,
oh, that's so and
so,
unless it's Rapunzel, there's 12 of you, not just one. So
yeah,
I love that. And it's a very pricey experience for those that can afford it.
yes, it is.
You do get the hair and makeup done. Do you do the nail polish too? And
Yep. I have to say it probably start at that point. It was, I think, the cheapest option was about $90, and
oof,
then the castle package is starts at 200, but it didn't include things like shoes or like extra stuff. But it did come with the sash. It came with all the stuff that we put in your hair, and I believe it came with a wand too,
gotcha,
if I
gotcha.
remember correctly.
And honestly, I did kind of love that it was in the world of Disney because if you can get your princess dresses literally right there and go in our little changing room, change, and then go to get your Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and it was so perfect and very strategically planned. And then if the girls are looking at little princess dresses, they could be like, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to do that." And Disney spend more money at Disney.
Yeah. And what was really nice about it being in the world of Disney at that point was because like now, unfortunately, still don't think it's opened up again yet. Um,
Mm-mm.
but when it was open at World of Disney, we had our own stash of dresses in the back. But if those
Oh,
dresses, the sizes ran out, we could run because it's the same stock amount. It was all the same
oh,
stock. We could run outside and
yes.
grab the dress and then bring it back in for the girls.
Oh,
So that was
perfect,
really helpful.
perfect.
I've done that
Um,
multiple times.
I feel like I remember seeing a fidget do that every now and then because I always wanted to work in the princess room because I just loved it, and I loved to all of the princesses in order in that back half circle. It was in the order of the release date, so it started Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Mulan, and Pocahontas. I always trip up on which is where, but I loved, and that's how I kind of learned their order of release date. And also, speaking of princess dresses in the back, did you ever go up to our stock rooms, Ariel's and
No.
Belle's?
Mm, I think I might have once. So
Okay.
up above.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
Oh,
think I've
you
done
should
it
I wish we
once.
knew each other. I would have taken you over there. No, no problem. But,
It's
so for
weird,
those that
man.
don't
It was weird looking down.
yeah, it's a little trippy too. So those that don't know, World of Disney does have a second story, and from the very middle of World of Disney, if you look up, you'll see a little circle bridge area, but you can't tell it's a bridge. It used to be where the big jumbotron was back in our day, but they took it down. Thank gosh, because it was so annoying how repetitive some of the music was. Um, but that's how you get from stockroom A, which is Ariel's, or B, Belle's. But Belle's is where all of the clothes were, and like sweatshirts and Mickey T-shirts and princess dresses. So every occasional when I had to work Belle's stockroom, me and my best friend Sarah, when the very first episode, we would try on the princess dresses, and we could fit into our little string bean little selves at the time. And be like, we didn't even need the extra large. We're like, oh, look at us! But like, obviously the proportions were off, and like our boobs were like up here and like but it was so fun. And I was gonna say something else, but yeah, looking down, like and I'm tall like you too. You kind of got to get on your tiptoes to like peek over and see and stuff. But so the fun thing, like you said, it's very improv being a fairy godmother in training or fidget.
Mhm.
When someone would ask you, a little girl would ask you how old you are, what would you say?
So some people do it differently. I changed it a lot
Okay.
sometimes, depending upon what I feel like. Because usually, and we'll get to this later, usually you don't see that princess again. Um,
Ah.
but a lot of times, what people would do is they would do their age and then multiply that times 100.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
at that point, I was probably 20 or 21. So I'd say I'm 2000 or 2,100 years old.
Oh my gosh. I thought
Yeah.
it was just, like, add a 0 and you'd be, like, 200 and 210 years old, but yeah, that's wild. I might have shared with you, but I remember one of the fairy godmothers telling me that she said she was 200 years old, or a little girl asked her, she said, oh, I'm 200 years old or 2000 years old, depending on
Yes.
what she did. And the little girl's, wow, you look better than my mom, and she's
Yep.
only 40. And it was like, oh, the
I
bird.
remember that.
Did you ever have that too?
Um, Luckily not, thank goodness, because
Okay.
I like chilling with the kids and talking to the kids. Parents, not as much. Kids, great.
hmm Oh my gosh. Well, I know we keep talking about this, but next question I have is not your favorite character, but what character do you most identify with that you are the most similar to?
Dory.
So, Dory! Oh my gosh!
For those
And
that
why
want to know,
Dory?
so the character that I most identify with definitely is Dory. So for those that don't know, that you wouldn't know this, Morgan and I, we have been probably trying about like 3 or 4 times to get this, to get this filmed, because I either
Yes.
forget because I was working all day or because I realized I had something else that I had to do. My husband is my planner. Like I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So
Oh. So I should have talked to
Dory,
him if just scheduling an interview. Got
yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. So definitely Dory. I tend to say people my favorite animated character because she is animated as Dory. Um, my favorite non-animated character is Mary Poppins, and there is a
Ah.
tie for my favorite princess between Merida and Anna.
Ooh, very nice. And would you say, I know you mentioned Dory and your similarities, but would you be similar? Are you similar to your other favorite characters, or are you more so just like 1000% Dory?
I think it's a little bit of an amalgamation of all of them.
Gotcha, gotcha. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. All right, next two questions, and we're just having such good conversation. I'm like, I have almost forgot to ask the questions, but if you could go on a retired Disney attraction, whether you've been on it in the past or not, what would it
Ooh,
be and why?
ooh.
We like to ask tough questions here.
Okay, so there's probably going to be some arguments in the comments,
Ooh.
but it's partially because I have worked there already.
Okay.
is I would love to go on the Great Movie Ride again, as it originally was when I was 8 years old.
Oh, man. When
Yeah.
what was the, I don't have strong memories of the Great Movie Ride before our college program, so was there a big difference between, like,
So,
2013 version and when you were 8 version?
so when I worked there, again, I've been a part of a lot of changes. I was there when it changed over from the old script to the TMC script
Oh,
with
okay.
Robert.
Yes,
So
yes, in
I
that
was,
queue waiting area. Yes, yes, yes.
when all that changed.
Oh.
So when I first started, and then also when I was younger, a lot of the drivers, a lot of the people taking you through, and as well as the gangsters and the bandits, would do a lot more ad lib. Um, but when
Oh.
they moved over to the new script, a lot of things were pre-recorded on your vehicle, so you weren't able to like ad lib as much.
Oh, darn, so it had
Uh,
to be, like, on a timed thing.
yeah, so
Gotcha.
it was a lot harder to like add your own little flair into it.
Mhm.
Still tried, but I definitely old school Great Movie Ride. And this is by no means putting any words on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. My husband
Mm.
was actually a part of the opening team for
Oh,
that ride.
wow.
So
Oh
it was
my
really cool
god.
because we both worked in the same building, just at different points, which is
Oh,
kind of
how
cool.
cute. Okay, so when you
Yeah,
get married, you should name your kid something that ties to the Great Movie Ride, or
right? Oh my
the
goodness.
or their middle name is blank the Great, and then your last name.
I love
Something
it. Love it.
something epic like that. I think that would be really fun. And then my last question of my usual questions is, what attraction would you be devastated if they demolished it during your lifetime? Updates and improvements are acceptable though.
I really don't want them to ever get rid of Indiana Jones and the Epic Stunt Spectacular.
I
The
was
show
thinking the
and the
Disneyland
ride.
ride. The ride. Okay, and the show.
Okay,
And
if we're talking about the ride, if we're able to include not Walt Disney World, I would say definitely Indiana Jones ride, because I've
okay.
gone on it. We went to Disneyland for our 5 year anniversary. Must have gone on Indiana Jones, I'd have to say like 5 or 6 times, because I knew it had the same track as Dinosaur. So I knew that I would love it and that I could go on it multiple times because I go on Dinosaur multiple times. Um, so that was great. But I love Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular because it still calls back to what Hollywood Studios was. And
Right.
I think that's really, at least one ride, I think that's really important, or show, I guess.
Going back to the ride Indiana Jones, I was just like you. Like, I did Disney World first, I loved Dinosaur, then went over to Disneyland. I'm like, oh, Indiana Jones is so cool. Like, this is amazing. And yes, it is better. I still love Dinosaur. Don't get me wrong.
It's
But
definitely better.
yeah, it's definitely better, and, at the time of the recording, they just reopened it and it's been refreshed and all the effects are
Right.
working better 'cause it was falling apart for a bit, but I'm glad they gave it its love and care it needed. But the show, I actually knew somebody who used to be friends with Indiana Jones. And he was worried for some time that it was going to go away. But then when
Mhm.
they announced that they were going to make another one, that kind of kept the show going. So I hope that, and he mentioned something about a Lego Indiana Jones. I personally haven't seen it, but he mentioned like another, just it brought more fans to Indiana Jones. And I think it's a classic. Like,
And
you
now they
know,
finally sell Indiana Jones merchandise in the main stores.
yes.
I was like,
Where
thank God, finally.
Finally! Oh my gosh, maybe it was a rights thing or like licensing something,
Maybe.
but I it's so good because there's such a strong fandom, and I think now that the fandom can actually purchase things to show everybody that they are a fan, I think it's great. But have you ever got to be in the stunt show?
Yes, I have pre-COVID, because obviously
Yes.
they changed it a little bit, but pre-COVID I was able. Me and one of my friends got chosen to do it, and that was after I was a cast member. So like I knew some people that were in the show. I knew how the show
Ah,
ran, but
you were like,
really,
"Me."
really cool to be like on the other side because you're always just sitting there watching and you're like, oh, that's cool, I guess, like that looks like it's fun. But then you're actually standing there and you're watching the people do the stunts around you, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Right, right. I was fortunate enough during my college program to do it, and I was with a significant other at the time, and so like were able to take a bunch of pictures of me, and obviously I knew the funny thing that happened, and I won't spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but I was like, "Oh, that's the guy. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're gonna do something really cool later." Like and like you said, it was cool to be in the show and see it all, and I was like, "Whoa," I feel like it's like a Disney bucket list thing that didn't realize was on my bucket list till I done it kinda
I
thing.
feel like it almost makes you appreciate it more if you like see it
Right.
once and then you try to be a part of the show,
Right.
because you
Right.
recognize like, oh, you're important, you're important, you're important.
Yes, you're like, "Alright, we're gonna really get all of our acting chops ready to go, even though I have absolutely none at all."
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for answering all of those questions. I feel like I got to know you even more. And thank you for sharing a lot of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. But now I'll let you go into your magic moment about Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
Of course. So, like I said before, honestly, one of the coolest things that I've ever done, um, one of the most magical, to say the least, just because of the closeness that you have to the stories that you're telling while you're there.
Mhm.
But one of these princesses that I have had, I still have a photo of her in my on my memory board from my college program. Um,
Oh,
she also gave me a lei because they were staying at the Polynesian, so she gave
oh,
me her lei at the end
oh,
of the time.
cute.
But like I said, with boutique, you spend probably about anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. But one of the cool things about the boutique at Disney Springs, at that point downtown Disney, is that in the princess room, it's usually, I think now it has like all the 100th anniversary merch and all of that
Mhm.
merchandise. It's that room.
Yeah,
But
it's
at
like
the front of that
seasonal kind of
room,
thing.
yes, and all the seasonal stuff.
Hmm.
But what used to be there is at the front of that room, because the boutique was in the back of that room. At the front of that room, there used to be the window seat.
Those were
Um,
some prime seats for sure.
yeah, so the window seat, it happens once an hour because you're allowed to spend like about an hour with these girls that you bring up to the window seat. So what's really awesome about these girls in the window seat is it's up to the fairy godmothers in training to choose them if they think they're going to be, a fun princess, if they think that they're going to have a memorable time with them. Um, so what I ended up doing is I met this little girl. She was there with her dad. Her dad was taking her, and her grandmother was there as well. So what I had said was like, I was like, you know what, we have a very special area for you. I'm going to take you, Princess Faith, up to the window seat. So if you'll follow me, so we actually put a little cape around them. They get a little special cape to go up to the front, and we bring them and their family up to the window seat. We open it up, we open the door, they go in. They also get their own private photopass photographer too, so the time
Oh.
isn't taken up between other area with the other princesses and them. They have their own photopass photographer. Um, so you take them up, and it's really nice because in World of Disney, at least at that time, the boutique was really loud.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if you remember.
Yes, 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 yes. I wouldn't it was always like it was kind of in a odd shape corner now. It's a part of backstage and stuff, most likely. I mean, I haven't been back there, but it was probably peaceful to go to the window seat.
Yeah, it was really loud back in the back area. You got to think there's 15 chairs and they were always full. So 15 princesses, usually around 30 fairy godmothers. plus
Mhm.
two cash fairies, the photo pass photographers, the parents. Um, so it was really loud. So going up to the front, you kind of get to have that one-on-one time with the princess, and you talk about stories and everything that you've done. I talked to her about their whole trip, what they're planning on doing, and obviously I had been to the parks many times at that point. So in character, I was giving recommendations on what they should do, where they should go eat, um,
Can
and
I
it was
ask an odd question? Do
yeah.
any of the princesses ever get nervous, being in the window seat? Because it's not just, like, a little window, it's a big, like, it's part of, like you're part
Big
of almost
party
like the
feeling,
mannequin
yeah.
and the display. Is there an area for the parents to sit? Like, can you describe that a little bit more?
For sure. So in the window, you have a seat like you would have in the back area. It's actually it's a little bit more of like almost like a barber's chair, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. It's a little
Yeah.
bit bigger because you do have a little bit more area. There is also a bench for any of the parents to sit on. The window itself it was literally the window from um, World of Disney. So it is a floor to ceiling window. It went all
Yep.
the way up.
You
But
can't hide.
cannot hide. But they do have a probably like a 9 foot high kind of like outline, like a little storybook outline. So it's kind of like you're framed inside it instead of
Yeah.
it just being window, which was
Mhm.
really cool. Um, so when it came a lot to when you chose the princess, you kind of had to pay attention to how you think they'd react. I mean, I've had a princess before go up there and like was really excited about that until they got up there and then they were like, I can't do this. And then it's fine. You
It's
just
because
take
you
them
can
back.
any passerby can see and stuff. I know working stock and whatnot, if I was in that scheduled in that front area, I would kinda always peek over and be like, "Oh, you're so pretty," or, it was just so cute just watching them and, I was not a part of it, but, like, being able to see some of the reactions and transformations was really
That's
cute
right,
too.
because the front part of that wall was only because it kind of scrolled down, so it was only the front of that was probably only what like 4 feet high. So people have stuck their heads over, being like, "You look gorgeous." I
Yes,
remember
yes.
that. You really had to kind of gauge the princess if you thought that they would be a good choice because you're also just coming from a business standpoint, you being in that window, you're doing it's free marketing for the boutique too. So
Yes,
you want to make sure
absolutely.
that the princess you have in the window is happy, they're excited, they want to be there, they're smiling because you don't want a crying princess in a window seat.
Yes, not
It's
at
not
all.
it's not very Disney like.
Not good advertising.
Not good advertising. But no, this princess, we kind of just really connected, and we talked the whole time. Um, I even talked about some like normal stuff too. Obviously, trying to be like in character, but I'll tell people like, when I was walking to the castle, I was hearing about this show, and they said it's on a moving screen, and that you can watch them multiple times, and it's called this. Have you seen it before? Um,
Stop.
yeah,
No, that's so
'cause,
cute.
we live in a castle. We have no idea what's going on in the outside world.
Right.
We're fairies. So we talked a bunch, and the father was so thankful um, when we finished because they had he had just lost she had just lost her mom. So this was kind of like a way for them to kind of enjoy themselves and get
Mhm.
away from the sadness of it all. So, and I didn't even realize that until after I took them up to the window. Like he had told me, like we she just lost her mom, so this was a trip to get her mind off of it.
Oh my
So the fact that
gosh.
I was able to do that was amazing. But not just that. So we finish up. Everything was great. He gave me a great tip, which was really nice. It's one of the few jobs outside of food and beverage that gets tipped, um,
Oh,
which is
very
really
nice.
cool. I don't know if that's changed since then, but at that
Mhm.
point we were still getting tipped.
And as a young 20-something, those tips probably helped tremendously.
Yeah, it helped a lot. It meant I was spending more money in the parks. Let's be honest.
Fair enough, fair
So
enough.
the coolest part though was that next day I had off. So I was like, I'm free. What am I going to do on my college program? Obviously, I'm going to the park. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Animal Kingdom. I used to go all the time because it was one of my favorite parks at that point. So I'll go all the time. I kept going there to the point where and this is important later, I started to know the people at the Festival of the Lion King and Nemo,
Ah!
and they used to give me VIP because I would come all the time.
Oh, I love that. They're
So the
like, "Hey, no
people
one's
outside are
here."
like, "Hey, what's up, Rachel? Come on in." And they would just put me in VIP, and people would be like, "What is she doing? Why is she so special?" But I was in Animal Kingdom that next day, and I was on the phone with my dad, just talking to him, telling him, I had a great day yesterday at work. Like I'm at Animal Kingdom today. It's a good day. And I'm going, I still remember it. It's so weird. Was going walking from Dino Land over to Discovery Island. I think I was either getting food or maybe going to grab merch or something like that. I'm going over the bridge and then past where Pocahontas used to meet,
Oh, yes, yes,
where
yes, and
those
that, like,
bathrooms are.
little side area, yeah.
Hmm. And you know how there's like a sitting area right there that's right across from the bathrooms.
Mhm.
Um, I am on the phone with my dad, and I hear fairy godmother Rachel, and
Ah!
I'm on the phone with my dad, and I go, Dad, a princess just recognized me. I gotta go.
What is this cellular device?
So immediately put my phone away before I even look up, and I look up, and it's that princess with her father and her
Oh.
grandmother. Um, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, the fairy godmother, because she said that we had so much fun yesterday. She gave me a day off to come and enjoy myself in the parks. And I'm happy that I found you." And so I ended up, I think that was around probably like 11 o'clock in the morning. I
Mhm.
ended up spending the whole day with them. I got them,
Stop.
I went on the safari with them, and I had friends there still because of working there. So I got them through Fast Pass on the Safari. We ended up getting VIP for Festival of the Lion King while it was still in Camp Mickey Minnie,
Oh, yes, back in the
um,
day.
and then got them a VIP for Nemo.
Stop.
And
Oh
we spent
my
the
god.
whole day with them. It was probably like people ask me what my most magical moment was, and that so many things had to line up correctly for
Right.
that to happen. But I'm like, I was meant to help this little girl, and I was meant to be there for this family at the time that they probably needed it the most.
Mhm.
And they'll just allow this little girl like me, falling on hard times when I was a kid, allowing this girl just to be able to lose the mask and just enjoy herself as herself and not have to worry about all of the sad stuff that's going on in her life
Yeah.
just for 1 second. And so I don't work for the company anymore, or else I probably
Mm.
wouldn't be able to talk about this. But
Fair, fair.
I don't work for the company anymore, and I still enjoy going to the parks. I love going to the parks, but there isn't that same vigor as when I was younger. You work for someplace for a long time, you get jaded, you
Mhm.
know, but
Burnout's real too.
burnout's real too. Especially when you're working 50-hour work weeks, 60-hour work weeks.
Oof,
Um,
oof.
and just looking back and reminding myself of those moments is like there's a reason that Disney has been around for so long and will continue to be around for so long. And yes, they're a business. Yes, they're there to make money, but it's those moments that keep them going. People will
Yeah.
stop spending money places, but it's those experiences, it's those moments to spend with family and friends and being able to forget the outside world for a little bit and just be happy
Mhm.
that I think is going to be what allows Disney to continue for a very long time.
Oh, Rachel, I'm on the verge of tears. Like, that is so sweet and such a good story. And like you said, you know, so many things had to line up for that to just perfectly play out. And I don't know, if people are religious or spiritual, but like the universe just said this needs to happen with your day off. We get
Yep.
very limited days off working for
I could have picked
Disney, and
four
they're
different
always—
parks.
sorry.
I could have picked four different parks.
Really. And then honestly too, like, meeting up with— I used to be in California, and meeting up with somebody there, running into somebody there is so much easier than Disney World, because like you said, could be 4 parks, 2 water parks, and then the parks are just so big and widespread in general that, like, even if you said, "Hey, let's go meet in Animal Kingdom," you gotta be real specific of what time
Yeah.
and place exactly to actually meet up with them. So again, like, the universe and just this little girl needed it, and you probably made her whole trip, and like, not only did her fairy godmother get to transform her into a beautiful princess, but also get to spend the day with you at the parks, and get, extra magic and VIP and fast pass. Like, I bet she probably never forgets that story, even as a grown adult, and understanding that, you were just some out of college and probably and all that stuff. But do you keep in touch with them at all? Or I know you said
I
you still have a
am.
pic—
I'm actually still friends with them on Facebook. I'm friends with her father on
Oh,
Facebook.
oh my
Um,
gosh. And do you oh my god. I'm like, let's get them on. I want to hear this. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm all like, it's just so beautiful.
yeah, it was really nice. They don't live even here in the US. I believe they live in
Oh,
Canada currently.
oh
So like this
wow.
is a trip of a lifetime for them, and the fact that
Right.
I got to be a part of it is pretty cool.
Do you know if they've visited since, or did you ever get to run into them again in Florida, or
They
was it just
had
the—
visited. Sorry, they had visited again. I was back to living up in New York at that point,
Oh, darn.
so I wasn't able to see them. But we
Hey,
get
your
to
your
talk
paths
on the
crossed at
Facebook,
the perfect time. And then they're
right?
like, "Alright, once is enough, you guys."
Yeah, so
Oh,
it was one of the coolest things. And then when people talk about the magic, I'm like, that's the magic. You know,
exactly.
it's little things.
Right, and you didn't have to do that. It was your day off, like you said, 60-hour work weeks. You did not have to go out of your way, but, like, it probably made you just as happy to do that for her. And then it this story— that's such a cute story. Oh my gosh. Like, this is why you're the reason— stories like this is why I love doing this podcast. Is not everybody would get to hear that story. I'm gonna tell you, a couple episodes ago, this wonderful girl named Kelly, we were talking about cast members and whatnot, and she goes, cast members are what make the magic. It's not the rides, it's not the attractions, it's the cast members, even the ones that get to hang out with the characters,
Mm-hmm.
they're still cast members. They're still the ones putting the magic behind it. So I think you just going above and beyond, I think, is just so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
It's a pretty awesome thing that I they get to be a part of. And it's funny when you're in Florida, everybody's worked for Disney.
Right. You
You
throw a
know,
rock, you'll hit someone that's worked for Disney.
yeah, pretty much. Um, but you recognize the weight that it holds when you leave. And like when I went back up to New York to be with my family for a little bit and to work outside of Disney, I got a job immediately because Disney was on my resume.
Oh, yes.
The assistant manager went, "Wow, you worked at Disney?" And I was like, "Oh, that was what the response is supposed to be like."
Ah, gotcha,
It wasn't
gotcha.
like Florida, like, "Oh, okay, you work at Disney." Like, "Oh, okay, okay." It was like, "Oh, you work at Disney?"
Yeah.
That's the different response. Okay, okay, I
I
understand now.
I literally have gotten that too. I mean, mind you, now it's been 10 years, so it's kind of a lot lower on the resume. I've done much more professional things since then. But, right after the college program and stuff, my interviews would literally stop, and they would be like, what was it like? Tell me everything." And I would, and it helped me get a job or 2, and so it's like
Yeah,
Rachel said in the very beginning, if you're thinking about doing the college program, it's great to have on the resume, but do come back, finish your degree, or go after you've graduated. Like,
yeah, it's just so important.
right, right. But Rachel, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we close out? And then also, where can we follow along on all of your adventures?
Of course. For those, like I said before, for those thinking about doing the college program, I could not highly, I could not recommend it more.
Mhm.
It was one of the best experiences that I have ever done in my life. I met my husband on my college program. We both worked at Mission Space. So it changed my life, but it was an experience. The college program is not meant to be your whole world. And remember that there are things outside of Disney,
Yes,
even if Disney is important.
agreed. And
Um,
then if you go other places, you can make more money to come back to Disney and visit it all the time.
yeah, like I always joke with people that I went full time. Well, I went seasonal before starting my full time roles with Disney. I went seasonal at Mission Space, which is where I met my husband.
Yes.
And now I shoot actual rockets into space as my job. I went
Wow.
I went
Look
from
at
being a fake captain with the ISTC to becoming a worker at United Launch Alliance out in Cape Canaveral. I'm
I
launching a rocket in April. It's really cool.
I love the progression. Wait, so, like, if I work at be a fairy godmother trainee, can I be a real fairy godmother? Or
A
probably some of
little bit
those
of a
girls
stretch.
a little bit of a stretch, but maybe some of the girls that, like, want to pursue cosmetology and do the
A
fairy
lot of them
godmother
did.
training,
A
that's a
lot of them
good
did.
good transition to a bigger, better job, better paying job.
I know a fidget, a fairy godmother who is now a professional cosplayer. Like, and
How
she does wigs
fun.
and she does hair and she does costumes and she does a fantastic job. She's won awards for some of her costumes. So
And look at her. She was a fairy godmother for starting off. I love it.
yeah. And then in terms of where to follow me,
Yes,
I
and I will link
recommend.
everything below, so don't worry about the whole, URLs and stuff.
I'm on Instagram as at Starlight and Magic 517. Starlight for my current job and Magic from my past. And then
Oh, I
May
love
17th
that.
is my birthday.
Oh, that's
um,
so cute.
but follow me there. I also have an Etsy. I am Razzo Design Co. is my Etsy, and you could find that on
Ooh,
Instagram too.
and what do you
Um,
sell? I didn't even know
I
that.
sell mostly jewelry, aluminum bands. I also sell some heat transfer items as well as some. My newest and coolest thing is some sublimation tumblers. Um,
Ooh,
so
very
definitely go
nice.
ahead and take a look. Maybe I'll give you a nice code for all of your listeners for maybe a little percentage
Ooh,
off for anyone
ooh,
wanting to go
yeah. I love that. We'll definitely appreciate that, and everything will
look.
be linked down in the show notes if you're listening, and also on YouTube if I can get this up on YouTube. Um, it will be on YouTube description box as well. But Rachel, you've been an absolute delight. I need to have you come back and talk about spaceship or sorry, mission. Wait, not mission space. What?
Mission
Which
space. Mission space.
mission space, um, Kilimanjaro Safari, and every single other great movie ride, every single attraction you've ever done. So, honestly, I feel like we could do a whole episode on Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
I would love to come back. You just let me know when.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, it's been such a delight. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me, Morgan. It's been an absolute magical pleasure.